preview on it, if I hover over it, you can see on the main page that it changes the text to give me a better understanding how it will look. Now if I click on it, it will apply, right? I'm just gonna go Control Z for the undo command and put it back to normal it was. And then again, the size as well. The size, you can simply hover over it and see where the content fits, right? In any manner you prefer, right? And then comes the color and the spacing. Color can be done in two different ways. The first one we discussed in the last video was here as a highlight or the color of the text, right? Like this one. But this time I'm gonna show you a little bit different. This one is called word art. Word art is an option here. It's effects on the text, right? So let's just find a really good one here. It's have a shadow, can be easily distinguished, or can be gradient fill, or in any manner you prefer. Let's take this one, right? So here, now I'm gonna zoom in, and you can actually see that the text is having a black color inside with the purple shadow of it, right? Now if you go here in a reflection or a shadow, you can actually change the way it looks, right? As for these ones, we go. This is the text, and this is, let's select this one first. These are the highlights, right? So oh no, I don't think you are able to change the color. I'm just gonna give it a try if you still can. No, this is just a color. Usually you should be able to. Anyways, so this sums up our color section, the word art, but obviously you can always have your own customization in your own way, right? You can always just click on the outline or in any one you like. You can have create a shadow, a personal shadow, right? And then you can have your own reflection of the text. As you can see, it actually gives you different options how you want your reflection to look like. You can have its glow of different colors, right? You can have more colors here, right? And then you have a number styles, right? And then comes the spacing part. Spacing part is a little bit tricky, but it's really easy to understand, right? So I'm just gonna zoom out right now, and then as I select this text, as you can see, I'm just gonna click clear all formatting. So this is completely out of all the formattings, right? I'm just gonna remove the space after paragraph as well. So this is completely formatting free. I'm just gonna start with the bullet point first, right? So we have a same settings here. And now for the line spacing. In the last video, we also discussed about how the line spacing works here in up to 3. For the APA standard, we use double spaced, right? This is 2.0, this is a double spaced. But something that we didn't discuss was adding a space before paragraph and after paragraph, right? So if you take a look here, the setting selected doesn't have enough space on the top and at the bottom. Now if I go ahead and select add space before paragraph, you can actually see the space up here in a gray area increased. And if I go select add after paragraph, it becomes same as the top one. And this is the space before and after a paragraph. Again, it only applies to a paragraph, right? Not a single text or a single line. It applies to a paragraph, right? So now it's just gonna select again, and we're gonna go to an option called line spacing options. Here you have much more option, much more adjustability for your spacing. As you can see here, it's an indentation. In the last video we also discussed how the indent works. As you can see here, our text here is already indented as compared to the understanding word, right? It is starting from here and this one is starting from here. It's already indented. So you can also have option to increase the indent. As you can see, the changing font style underneath here has the same margin level as the setting margins. But if I increase this one, it will go ahead compared to the changing font. This increase the indent level of the text, right? So if it's gonna put back to 6.3, so it becomes same as the previous one. Now the spacing is here. So we have a before and after. So before, you can add a space to 30. It's really up to you how you want your text to look like. Here is a little preview at the bottom how your text will look like after these settings, right? I'm just gonna go ahead and click OK, and you can see it added more space at the before and after the paragraph. If you take those out, all of these goes away, right? So that sums up our changing font style, size, color, spacing, and also line spacing and indentation for better readability. If you want some text that you want to highlight on its own, you can have more space here. Let's take a look. Say that you want it to look separate from all of them. You can put it to 48 and then we can switch it to 48 as well. Here gives a lot more space in between those texts. So if the person is reading this document, they will be able to see these two lines on their own without any difficulty to read. As you can see at the bottom, the text is a little bit smashing into each other, but here on the top, it's much more readable as compared to the bottom ones, right? So let's just take those two out for now. Now, these finishes our changing font style, color, line spacing, and indentation. Now let's take a look on the apply pre-made styles for professional look and customizing and saving your personal styles. Last week we had a little bit of a demo on the styles here, which I showed you with the heading 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with its own paragraph style. Now I'm telling you that you have a way to customize it in your own way. So we can experiment on this one now. So these two are similar in the formatting. So we're just gonna make it different right now. So here I have a heading 1. Here again I'm gonna do heading 1. But let's say I don't like the blue color. What to do now? If I go ahead, I can change the color manually, but it will only apply to the specific one, not the heading 1 itself, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go Control Z. So we have the same one. And now I'm gonna right click and we're gonna click modify. In the modify section, you can simply choose a color, whichever you prefer, and then you're gonna click OK. All of the text that was with heading 1 setting will be formatted instantly. You don't have to do one by one manually. You can simply click one time and it will do it for you. Let's say that I have all these headings on heading 1, right? All these headings on heading 1. Again, I am not selecting any text. I'm at the end of the document. All I have to do is right click and modify. And then let's say I want to make the text a little bit bigger with italic. So it's easy to differentiate from the previous settings, right? And then we change this text to censor, right? Make it a little bit smaller, so a little bit bigger. So when I click OK, all these text with the heading changes instantly. Now let's put these ones, all of them, into something else as a list paragraph, right? They are the list paragraphs. Now, all I have to do is go ahead, right click and modify. For these, I want them to have italic with Times New Roman and a little bit bigger text. But I also want them in middle or justified, whatever you prefer, right? And the color should look green. So once I click OK, all of them changes instantly, right? So if a person is reading, even if it's zoomed out, they can easily see, okay, this is the understanding document, layout, pay and page setup, text, paragraph formatting. They can easily read the headings. And when they zoom in, it was a green color, so it's hard to read. But if you have a different color, let's say black or something else, it's easy to read from the zoomed out as well. So we have setting margin, and it's easily differentiable from just pure black, that this is a specific heading and here comes its subparts. This is a heading and comes a subpart, right? So let's head back to the very first thing here. This is the original document, right? Now this covers our applying pre-made styles for professional looks and also the customization, but not saving personal styles. So if you don't want to go with a specific pre-designed one, of course you always have an option to make your own style. You're just gonna have to click and create a style. Here you have to name, let's say, JSang, and then style preview should look like here. Here we go. And then I would prefer Stencil as it is not in the document right now, so it's easy to differentiate. And the text should 18 with the bold italic, and with the text I would say let's do the blue this time, right? And then you can also here this option you should be, yeah, you should always check about these options like add to a style gallery. If you do not click on this, if it's this one is unchecked, you won't be able to see your style in the top section here in the style section, right? So you make sure this one is checked so it comes in a style section. So if you have to use it later in another document, if you close the MS Word and you reopen it, it will still be there for you in your next document. And then here we also have another option saying only in this document or new documents based on this template. So these two options are work like this. So if let's say that I'm creating this one, this style based on a normal one, right? So style for a following paragraph, JSON, right? So let's say I'm doing for a heading 1 or heading 2. So if I'm opening a document, a new one with the heading 1 in it, it will apply heading 1 this style that I'm creating right now instead of the traditional one if I select this option. So all the new documents that going to be created will have this formatting for the heading 1, right? But we're not going to do that right now, so we're just going to do it only in this document and click OK. Now as you can see, this one's already done, right? So here I have adjusting my own style up here, right? If you select a text, you can always hover over it and see how it looks like, right? You can select, and even if I do for these, it will still becomes the same, right? Because this JSync style doesn't have a bullet point, so it automatically removes the bullet point and adjust your text accordingly. I'm just gonna go back and put it back to normal. So this covers our saving personal style, right? Now let's head to inserting and formatting table and images, right? So for the table, let's create a new blank page up here so you can easily see. Now for the table, you're just gonna have to click insert. In the table section, you have two options to create a table, actually three. So this is a demo. So you have one row and one column. You have two rows with one column, or you can have two columns with one rows, or 2 columns, 2 rows. So we're just gonna go 5 rows and 3 columns, right? Let's actually make it more. You can simply click and it will do the insertion for you, right? But the other option that we have is table. You can always click insert table. Here you have an option, right? So you want the number of columns to be 10, actually make it 4, and number of rows to be 10, and the column width is auto. It actually auto is on the margins. If the margin are very narrow, the width of the column will be adjusted automatically. If the margins are very wide, the column width will be smaller and adjusted automatically, but you can always have your own option to choose how much of the width of the column you prefer. Let's say 5 centimeter, right? So if I click OK, I have 4 columns of 10 rows, and each of these columns have a specific column width of whatever is the amount that we filled in. I actually completely forgot. Yeah, let's give it another try. Right, it was a 5 centimeter. So yeah, 5 centimeter of each. So 5, 5, 5, 5. These are the size of the column. Now adding a text is pretty simple, just the way you normally type, right? So here I have, let's say, text 1, tab, text 2, text 3, text 4, right? And simply goes on. Now to add more rows, you have two different options. You can always click here, and then in the layout section, you have an option up here. You want to insert above, insert below, left or right, it's really up to you. So if I'm clicked here and I click insert below, let's add a text so it's easy to differentiate, right? After text 5, I would like to have a row inserted above, right? So text 6. So if I want to add a row above text 5, all I have to do is click insert above, and there it is. You have a row that is completely new, and it's in between 6 and 5. Now if I have to add another one at bottom, insert below, and here you go, you have another row underneath table, the last row, which you can use to add more data, right? You can always have insert left or insert right. It's really up to you, right? And the columns or rows goes on, right? So this sums up our insertion of the table. Delete table, right? And then comes the border and the colors, right? So I'm just gonna go back to the default. Now the text and the color for the table is similar than what we do in the normal text, right? So you have to click a select a text, and the similar process applies. You can highlight, you can have a color on it, right? You can have a color, or you can have your own word art, right? Like that. As for the borders, if you go into the layout section, you have your size of your table here. So if the height is 0.5 centimeter, it is for the specific box. A specific box is 0.5 centimeter. If you increase it, it will increase all of them. Again, you cannot individually click just do this specific text and its own box. It's always going to apply to the row, right? Now again, if you go back to the normal one and you prefer to have a width, it's gonna do the width for just one box. So this thing is always individual. So if you're going from column to column, you can have different sizes for different columns. Yes, it is possible, right? So let's say I do 2 centimeters here on this one. Oops. If we select it, you can always increase. You can always increase this one here like this. So the column length can be adjusted individually, but the row needs to be done in entirely. You cannot have just a small text box as its own height for that row. If the row height increase, it increase for the entire row. Keep that in mind, right? This sums up our table size, borders, and its colors. As for the border section, you have another option, right? So if you go to your table design, these are the table styles you can choose from. Again, it's similar to the styles that we have for the text as in heading 1 or 2. You can have a different styles of the tables you prefer. So let's take a look into plain table 3. There we go. So this is my headings, and then here I have my data, right? Okay, like this. I have my data here underneath. So these are the pre-made styles that you can choose from. All you have to do is just click and hover over it, and it will give you the exact thing that you want your table to look like, right? There we go. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and delete the table, and here we have finished our adjusting table size, border, and color. Now comes the part of wrapping text around image and positioning them properly. So let's go ahead, add a demo text here. Now, if I go ahead, insert an image, again, the process for inserting an image was covered in the last video. If you don't know about that, please refer to the video and you will see about how to insert a image from online or an offline source. We're just gonna go from the online pictures right now, and let's take a background section, right? There we go. Now you can go ahead, choose an image, insert it. Once I lower the size, as you can see, it's coming in between my text here. It's in between the text, right? So I want my picture to be inserted in between the paragraphs but not with the text. So here we go. So you're gonna go ahead, click on the picture format, and we have an option here, wrap text. Wrap text, we have different options. You can have in square, tight, through, or top and bottom. So as you can see right now, this specific words, right, these two was a part of this specific line, right? So if I take this image out, as you can see, this is the entire one line. So if I insert the picture in between them, it breaks my text, right? So if I go to a picture format, wrap the text to top and bottom, it completes my line and also keeps my image at the same place I want it to be. Now you also have another wrapping and the style section here as well. You can always remove its background, any corrections you prefer in whatever the manner you like. Color, effects, if you want to add an effect, transparency of the image, how much visible you want your picture to look. You can compress, you can change the picture or reset the picture if you have a specific size or the settings that you want it to back to. You can always reset. And then we have frames here, right? You can choose a different frames to have your image blend into it, right? So now here, and then comes the picture border part. You can choose its own color. Again, it's the same as the styling your own text. The picture, the tables, the text, they all have a similar styling option. So you actually have to just wander around and experiment with those, whichever looks best for your text. So we're just gonna go and click the orange one here, looks much better. And then you have a picture effect. It's similar to the word art. You can have a shadow of a picture, right? As you can see, I'm just gonna go ahead top left. If you can see clearly here, there's a small shadow on the entire side, right? And then we have a picture layout. If you have a specific layout for the picture, this is just a normal chart diagram that you can use to add your image into. And then we have a glow, we have a reflection if you have a reflection for the image you want it to, right? Now move to the alt text. Alt text is a text which you have to write, let's say background image, right? Now mark it as a decorative is if you want to mark your image as a decorative, right? Alt text we use if in case your image fails to load. The alt text is the text which is gonna be displayed instead of the image while the image loads up, right? And then we have a different options here. The position of the image, where would you like your image to be positioned. Wrap text we already go through. And then we have an option here about the alignment, saying that if the my picture is covering some anything else, let's say we copy it and then we paste it here. And if my image is overlapping something else, right? If my image is overlapped by something else, I can click bring forward, bring to front, or bring in front of the text, right? So in front of the text means it's gonna be above everything else. Bring to front means it's gonna be below the text, but it's gonna be in front of everything else, right? So right now, as you can see, I have clicked the picture that is at the back side, right here. It's much easier to understand on the back side, but I want the bottom image to be on the top. So we're just gonna go and click bring forward, and here we go. We have this specific image on top of the bottom one. Now if I click on this, it's gonna do the other way, right? And similarly, we have an option to send it backwards. Again, bring forward and then bring backward, right? And then there's a selection pane, which image you want to select. Let's say that we have here an overlapping images, right? So you can always head to a selection, which image you would like to select, right? So the picture one is on the top, right? And the picture two is underneath, but I am unable to select my picture two, right? So just gonna click on the selection pane, and you can always see which pictures you have and you can easily move them, right? And then comes the alignment part, where you want your picture to be aligned with according to the page, right? We have a crop option here. If you want to crop your image, you can choose to crop to into it a specific shape, right? Or you can choose to manually crop it in any way you prefer, right? I'm just gonna go ahead and click enter. It's gonna be cropped into the specific size, right? Or you can have, this is the size for your image, right? So this, as you can see, my picture is really small as compared to the picture one that I have here, right? My picture two is very small. So if I go ahead and then copy this one to 4 centimeter, right? It's 4 by 6. Now I increase this one to 4 by 6, right? Here. So the image got bigger compared to the previous image, right? So this was the size of the image, right? So this sums up our wrapping text around images and positioning them properly. Now, the main part for your document is having a header and a footer, right? And also the numbering of the pages. Some of you actually might remember telling me about having a video on how to add a page numbers and how to customize the header and footers for the branding purposes. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go into insert tab, And here we have an option for header, footer, and a page number. All you have to do is click on the header, footer, and you have a built-in formats to choose from to add. For the header section, let's say we have this band, it's gonna add a header for you up here, right? So once I go and click on the edit header, you can actually edit this one to anything you prefer, and once you close it, it will be there as a part of your header. Now again, it's not a part of the document, so if you delete this, it will not go away. It is not part of the document, but it is a part of the document. Now if I delete all this, right? So for the header section, you can actually manually type it. Let's say JSON's YouTube manual channel, right? YouTube channel. So for the branding purposes, you can choose any style you prefer. Let's say I choose this one. I have the designing. Now I have to do is check the size, right? And the alignment of the text. But if you take a look here right now, it is way more congested for a professional document. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna click on our header, we're gonna edit it. Once I select this, again, it's a line and spacing option. You just have to add space before and after. Here we go, guys. We have a much more space on the top considering the type we want. Now, here you go. This is a little bit of the demo for a professional document you are trying to create. You can always have your header in the back, right? And if you print, it will print in the exact way you want it to be in a proper dark format. But when you are editing, it's in the gray section to give you a differentiation that this is your text and this is your header, so don't get confused in between. Now for the page numbers and the footer section, it's a similar process. Footer, you already have a built-in functions, right? You can always choose one, right? Page numbers, right? Oh, sorry, page numbers. Page numbers, you have different options. You can choose to insert on the top of the page, bottom of the page margins, or at a current position you are at. So we're just gonna go ahead, click on the bottom of the page for right now, and then choose plain number 3. This is a very basic one for any kind of API documents or a report you're writing. I would suggest plain number 3. Just gonna go ahead, click on it, and here you have it, right? Once you close header and footer, you have your page number here at the very bottom of your page. Now if you go ahead and insert a blank pages, as you can see, my header is continuing on all the pages, and so as the page number. Here we have page number 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, right? So this is how we add a page number that updates automatically. Now for the students, this is specifically for a student parts. When you're creating a APA document, right, you don't want to have anything on the front page, right? So for the front page, if I go ahead, click on multiple pages, the very starting of the APA doesn't have to have a header or a page number on it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the header section. We're gonna click edit header, and here we have our option different first page. Once you click that, your header from the first page and your footer from the first page will be removed. Whereas for the rest of the pages, when you create, will have a similar header and the footer. No matter how many pages you create, they will continue to have your page number and your header, but the first page will be empty. And you can always manually add anything in it. Let's say that I type my name, Jay Singh, and we put it into a different kind of shading here, right? So my first page is different than my rest of the pages. This is for specifically for the APA formats only, right? Right, guys. So this sums up our today's video, right? I'm just gonna go back to this. So now we have already discussed everything in the text here. So adding automatic page numbers, customizing heading and footer for the branding section, right? So this sums up our today's video. I hope you like it, and if you do like it, please do press the like and subscribe button, and we'll see you next week with a new video. Thank you.